The second type of Find BI functions I want to introduce is date functions. Here, I have listed some commonly used functions, along with their purposes and examples. I will demonstrate these functions using a specific example. Let's go back to our Find BI analysis. Earlier, we had a simple demonstration within the components. Now, in the data editing section, I will demonstrate how to use the common date functions by adding a formula column. The first function I'll teach you is date subdate, which is easy to remember. It's the interval between two dates. This calculates the date or time interval. Here, you can see an explanation of the function, how to write the parameters, and how to calculate the time interval. For example, let's calculate the interval in days between the payment time and the contract signing time. If the payment time is earlier than the contract signing time, the result will be negative, and if it is later, the result will be positive. Another similar function is datediff, which is the same as the one in Excel. It works by comparing the start and end dates, calculating the interval between the contract signing time and the payment time. You'll notice that I wrote these two functions slightly differently. The function I wrote first had the payment time before the contract time. Why is that? It's because, when using start time and end time, the second parameter is the later time. In the function I wrote earlier, the first time was actually the later one. Both functions will calculate the same difference, so when writing functions, it's important to pay attention to how the parameters are ordered. Besides the functions, there's another very useful feature. We previously introduced how to calculate the date and time interval in our data editing topic. This feature works similarly to date subdate. For example, I can use the same unit of days here, and you'll see that these three methods are actually the same. Now, when should you use a function, and when should you use time interval in data editing? Both methods work, but using a function has the advantage of not requiring an additional helper column. You can go straight to the result. For example, if the payment time is later than the contract time, it's a post-contract payment, and we can identify whether it's a pre-order payment or not using conditions like if date interval is larger than 0 for non-pre-order, otherwise for pre-order. The second date function I want to introduce is date to number and to date. Let's look at date to number first. This function converts a date to a number, which is the milliseconds since January 1, 1970. This is commonly known as a timestamp. This is useful when comparing the timing of two events. We can calculate the timestamp for both times and compare which one is later. To convert a timestamp back to a date, we use the toDate function. Sometimes, we store timestamps in the database, and to convert them into a readable date, we simply use toDate function. You'll see that it converts the timestamp into a regular date format, just like the contract signing date we showed earlier. Note that toDate can accommodate various parameter types. You can convert other types of data, like text, into date formats like year, month, day, etc. A common mistake is confusing toDate function with today function, so be careful. We've covered these three functions, along with the date interval and time interval functions. There are also other common date functions, such as extracting specific time units from a date, like the year, month, day, or quarter. These are easy to write by combining the relevant keywords. Additionally, there's a function for getting the date a few years, months, or days after or before a specific date. For more date functions, including their types, usage, and examples, you can click on the relevant document.